The Chicago Bulls in their third preseason game versus the Milwaukee Bucks end up taking a loss yesterday, but we did get to see Ayo Dosunmu and Montes Buzelis both shine. But I want to talk and bring this conversation to today's episode. Would the Chicago Bulls be better off if they start Ayo Dosunmu? I think it's the time for a real discussion. Let's talk about it, break it all down. But before we do so, you gotta hear the music first. Cognac, gang. Shot Boys Podcast with the Cognac Boys. I'm Cognac Boy Bobby, and I'm holding it down on another daily episode. So if you're tuned in, love talking Bulls basketball, make sure you go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Now, yesterday, the Chicago Bulls took a loss to the Milwaukee Bucks, 127-121. In the game, the way you seen the Milwaukee Bucks just be on a heater from the three-point line. Those Milwaukee Bucks, man, they was just going off from the three-point line, bro. And for that three-point target, man, they was just letting it fly. And we was just like, my goodness, can the Chicago Bulls do anything versus this Milwaukee Bucks team? But if we were just evaluating our guys, we did see good performances from Montes Buzelis, who dropped 19 points, had 4 rebounds, 6 of 11 from the field, 2 for 6 from 3. So he had another solid game in preseason, and he is ascending in the right direction. Nikola Vucevic, not a lot for us to talk about on that game. Honestly, when I seen the starting lineup before the game have Zach Collins in as the center, and then the Chicago Bulls come out with Nikola Vucevic, I was wondering what was to that. I don't know about y'all. I was wondering what was to that. But yeah, and then we seen Trey Jones kind of be a little bit out of character with some bad passes, some bad decisions that resulted in turnovers. And it was a bit uncharacteristic for my man when he was in the game. Definitely slotted into that starting lineup. Other guys stepped up as well. We seen a little bit out of P. Will, a little bit out of Javon Carter. But I want to have the conversation regarding Ayo Dosunmu. Last night versus the Milwaukee Bucks, Ayo Dosunmu, my man's came in off the bench and gave the Chicago Bulls 22 points, 2 assists, 3 rebounds, with 8 of 10 from the field and 1 of 3 from the three-point line. But the discussion that I want to have is, would the Chicago Bulls be better if they started Ayo Dosunmu? Now, I want to start this by saying I don't necessarily believe that Billy Donovan is going to go down this route in starting Ayo Dosunmu at the 3 for the Chicago Bulls, but it's definitely a conversation to bring us thinking heads and guys that love this team to the forefront and say, hey, the things that Ayo Dosunmu is doing off the bench could have him placed in some 6-man of the year conversations if the Chicago Bulls win some games and if he remains healthy this season, right? When we talk about Ayo Dosunmu, this is a man that can do a number of things. He can do a number of things of offense. If you need him to run your offense, he can handle the rock pretty damn well. If you need him to play off ball, he can go ahead and do that. If you need him to push the pace, he can apply so much pressure offensively on the imposing team. And on the defensive side of the ball, he got a few kids out here. And I don't know. He might be looking forward to this extra money on that's coming in 2026. And I don't know if he up for adoption, but he can definitely adopt a couple more kids around the NBA with how well he can defend. Now, I think that when you talk about Billy Donovan and the way that he looks at Ayo Dosunmu, there may be some discussions or some questions that may come up with Ayo Dosunmu as if, okay, we know he can pretty much guard some of the threes, but can he, be able to handle himself if he's moved on to a 4? You know what I mean? And the same thing can be said for Isaac Okoro and Kevin Huerter. I believe that right now, if we're talking about Okoro and Huerter, I think the guy slotted right there, at least right now, will be Okoro, simply because, he probably is the best perimeter defender on this team, at least right now. And he's a bit more bulkier than, Ayo Dosunmu or somebody like that. So I think it brings real conversation to say if the Chicago Bulls will be better because number one, he's a better 3-point shooter than Isaac Okoro. We could probably go and pick and choose on who you want to shoot between Ayo Dosunmu and Kevin Huerter, but Kevin Huerter's been hurt. And Kevin Huerter doesn't have the blazing speed that Ayo Dosunmu has, or has that ability to penetrate the paint like a Ayo Dosunmu. And Ayo Dosunmu finishes so well at the basket, and the 3-point shot more often than not falls for him. It definitely calls for conversation to say, hey, I'm just saying, Billy, can this guy be inserted in your starter lineup to help the Chicago Bulls? Now, don't want to take anything from the bench because I think that when all the guys return, you'll see Trey Jones go to the bench. You'll see Kobe White inserted in the starting lineup. And then when that does happen, can Ayo Dosunmu handle himself well enough to where he's more comparable to an Isaac Okoro, who's going to typically on the best night guard the best player on the opposing team? It's a lot of different things we can discuss when it's talking about this, but I don't want people to count Ayo Dosunmu out. That's just why we bringing this to the forefront today, simply because Ayo Dosunmu, bro, is just a different type of a different type of feel when he's handling the rock, when he's able to help in the half court offense. And I think that's why we should be having this conversation. Not only is he a threat in transition with shooting a three, but he can literally run the fast break by himself because he's so damn fast and he's so damn good at finishing at the basket and drawing some contact when necessary. So that's some things that I have not seen out of Isaac Okoro. I have seen Isaac Okoro be aggressive on the offensive side, but the scoring output is a bit different on what I believe that Ayo Dosunmu could bring to the Chicago Bulls, man. In fact, Ayo Dosunmu, for the 3 preseason games that the Chicago Bulls have played, has been the leading scorer in 2 out of the 3 games. So if we looking at him next to Josh Giddey and Kobe White, who allows you to space the floor a little bit more so Josh Giddey can get downhill, so Kobe White can have some more available shots? If you asking me and we lining them up, Okoro to Ayo Dosunmu, I believe the threat of Ayo Dosunmu shooting is a little bit more relevant than Isaac Okoro. I think that it'll be more of a option for the Chicago Bulls to possibly exploit that. Obviously, you still have to worry about Nikola Vucevic inside that painted area on the offensive side. But he can stretch the floor. We hope that 3-point shot starts to fall for Nikola Vucevic, because in this damn preseason, Nikola Vucevic has not necessarily looked good, in my opinion. Last night, he was 0 for 4 from the 3-point line, and I feel like he was given some pretty good damn shots. And on the defensive side, again, I don't know why Zach Collins was pulled from the starting lineup in favor of Nikola Vucevic. So if you are considering Isaac Okoro, Kevin Huerter, and Ayo Dosunmu, right now the chips are stacking up pretty damn high for a guy like Ayo Dosunmu. But it comes down to the coaching staff and how they want this team to operate, because to be quite frank with you, that bench that the Chicago Bulls would have with, you know what I'm saying, Trey Jones, P. Will, Ayo Dosunmu, Zach Collins, and you want to go Kevin Huerter or somebody like that, or you want to give Noah Essengay some run, I think that's a pretty good damn bench. And I know that when we talk about starting lineups, we have to stabilize everything. So if you got a guy that's going to be, orchestrating the offense and time and time again, getting up 3-point shots or getting to the basket in Josh Giddey, or if you're looking at Kobe White, a guy that's going to space the floor, shoot a high volume of threes, and sometimes get to the basket, not necessarily the greatest defenders. I understand the need to stabilize your starting 5 with a defender like Isaac Okoro. So that's why I say it's up for discussion. I don't necessarily think it's going to happen, but it's definitely a conversation that we should be having to see who gives us the best opportunity to win games. I don't care about who we like. I don't care about who we traded for. I don't care about what guys have expectations they have put out there in the atmosphere. You simply have to put it on wax. Period. You simply have to show us what you're made of, period. In Chicago, we don't want to continue to be in play-in games and get bounced. We want to see a winner and who gives us the best chance to win. That's why I ain't gonna lie to y'all, I was a bit upset not seeing Zach Collins start for the Chicago Bulls with that starting five. I thought it would have been interesting to see how the defense looks along with, the guys that was placed out there. Your Trey Jones, but obviously Kobe White is going to be flipped up in his spot. And then you see at the 3 with Isaac Okoro, and then a big like Zach Collins, who I believe moves his feet way better than Nikola Vucevic, can sometimes hit the 3 and finish a little bit better at the rim in the painted area. Not saying that he's an overall better player than Nikola Vucevic, but who gives the Chicago Bulls a better chance to win the basketball game? So I think that in this preseason, while you was in training camp and all these things that's going on, Billy Donovan and his coaching staff should be exploring these options a little bit more. That's my only point. That's my only point. You should not be trying to move past things willy-nilly. You should be trying to set the tone. You know what I'm saying? Who's going to defend? Who's going to run the pace? Who's going to take the charges? We need to see some of those things. You know what I mean? And honestly, let's talk about this. When it comes to the starting lineup, I believe we good offensively. That's just me. You could be good offensively with Zach Collins in there who can run the pick and roll and finish at the rim a little bit better than Nikola Vucevic, in my opinion. And then when you go to your bench, who's a more defensive-minded and may not have the offensive punch of the starting lineup, per se, Nikola Vucevic could be useful there. Yes or no? Let me know. Yes or no? Can Nikola Vucevic provide that offensive stability to the bench like Zach Collins could provide some defensive stability to the starting lineup? That's all I want to know. Because I'm a believe that you have scorers in Josh, in Kobe White, in Montes Buzelis, who are very capable guys that can score. We want to see more from Montes Buzelis, obviously. But then you also need some type of stabilization to where you're not falling down 7-16 at the start of a game because Nikola Vucevic won't move his damn feet. I understand it's preseason. I get it. But you practice how you play. You practice how you play. Now, I understand they might want to play politics. They might want to go with Nikola Vucevic, the veteran, all of that stuff. But who gives the Chicago Bulls the best chance to win? Hence why we're talking about Ayo Dosunmu potentially giving the Chicago Bulls the best chance to win because he adds a different dynamic to the Chicago Bulls offense that could be useful in a starting lineup. It's going to be useful on the bench for sure. But how will this starting lineup look heading into the season and moving through the season is why we're bringing this conversation today. Again, I don't think it's necessarily going to happen. But would the Chicago Bulls be better if they place Ayo Dosunmu in the starting lineup? We shall see. I don't necessarily think it's going to happen, but I'm open for discussion. So let me know how y'all feeling about that right there, man. Before y'all get up out of here, because that is it from me. Make sure you go ahead and hit that like button. Hit the comment box. Let me know how y'all feeling. And if you want to go ahead and put it on wax, call in to the mailbag. And we will revisit the topic. If you call in, state your name, leave your tape. The number to do so is 773-242-9219. I would love to hear your thoughts so we could play it on the next episode. And then I'll go ahead and we talk about it and we discuss this at a little bit more, just a little bit more extensively. Let me know. But that is it for me today, y'all. I appreciate y'all. Make sure you always see red. And you already know, man. I'm going to catch y'all on the next one for sure. Peace. Cognac. Gang.